What is the most disturbing thing to know? 1/3 of all people who break their hip die within the year, so please tape pillows to your elderly relatives. Chris Farley's last words were "Don't leave me." He said it the prostitute he was with, who then stole his watch and took a picture of him dead, dying. Cyanide poisoning is an incredibly painful way to die. Cyanide was what Jonestown consumed for mass suicide. Parents were instructed to give it to their children and convinced the crying was just fear. Pelicans are some of the most demonic birds in existence, if not some of the most demonic creatures. Pelicans will go into other birds' nests, shove the parents out of the nest, they will then swallow babies whole, fly back to their own nests, and regurgitate the still half-alive, partially digested babies, to their own babies for them to consume. Some pelicans are literally raised on the partially digested, living flesh of other baby birds. One aspect of foster care. Some people will take their child to a doctor. Child gets diagnosed with cancer. Child goes to first appointment. Kid gets wheeled back for treatment. Parents then leave, go home, pack and disappear. The kid is in the treatment waiting room, waiting for parents that will never ever come, sick and facing death alone. It doesn't happen a lot, but enough to have processes in place. The worst is when they are like 4, although a 7-year-old was also rough. Often, burnt bodies are found in the same stance, known as the boxer pose, due to muscles contracting from heat. It's an incredibly disturbing looking thing. I first heard about it from my grandfather that fought in Burma. During the war, he was present at a Burmese funeral in which the cadaver was burned on a pyre. Just as the flames began to singe the corpse, it sat up straight. The Burmese, of course, got a good laugh out of the British soldiers collectively sitting themselves. As contractions due to heat during cremation is apparently rather common, doesn't make it any less creepy. That there are parents out there that willfully sell their children into sex slavery or force them into prostitution. By the time you show the symptoms of rabies, it's already too late. It can also be dormant for a year before you show those symptoms. If you try to grab the brain in its natural state, it will fall apart. When you see scientists pick up the brain, they have used chemicals to harden it. The Nutty Putty Cave accident. Google for full disturbing details, a map of the cave, but basically a guy got stuck caving in a very narrow unmapped tunnel, upside down. They could not get him out, but almost did. One of the rescuers made eye contact with him apparently, but then their pulley system broke and he fell further down. Unfortunately, he ended up dying of cardiac arrest from being upside down for so long, and they couldn't get him out, never retrieved the body because it was too dangerous for rescuers. Truly so disturbing. I've thought about it probably once a week since I found out about it a few months ago. Hotels rarely clean their ice machines. That if you have ALS, you're more than likely going to suffocate to death. My mom used to work for this elder gentleman who suffered from ALS. One day she gets a call that he's passed away in his apartment. From what she told me, she walked in and his eyes were wide open and his mouth was open, permanently left gasping for air. ALS is a neurodegenerative disease that causes people to lose control over their nerves over time to the point of near vegetative state. Most people don't last very long once diagnosed because they lose the ability to expand their chest to breathe and pretty much choke to death. That sadder thing about it that you could be fully awake when this happens and have no way of stopping it. I've watched both my parents die in hospice, and unlike what you've seen and heard about, it is not always peaceful. Edit to add, while the hospice staff were wonderful, the positive part of hospice is that everyone who wants to gets to say goodbye. Edit number 2. So many of you are sharing heart-wrenching stories of your loved ones passing. I am just so sorry for your losses and hope that you find comfort and healing in knowing that you are not alone. Llama spit is actually projectile vomit. If an elephant's mate dies, then they can die from broken heart syndrome. The liver can be ruptured in one punch. Liver is the second most fragile organ in the human body. Edit. Well, Frock, lots of people seem interested. Do with this knowledge as you wish. Edit 2. I'm using fragile to mean susceptibility to damage, not sensitivity. There are chicken plants pretending to be rehabs, where prisoners get sent to work as near slaves. Reveal News. Org. Article. They thought they were going to rehab, they ended up in chicken plants. One of the scariest and most disturbing thing I've watched in the internet is that one guy's slow descent to insanity because its brain lost its ability to sleep. He vlogged regularly until he died. That's one of the most disturbing things I know. That anyone, including myself, can have their last sleep without knowing it. Edit. Ricard Siagyan's channel for those who asked. Edit 2. TL. DW. The guy had a UTI. He didn't have insurance, so he took an antibiotic. After 2 weeks, he lost his ability to sleep because of the side effect of that antibiotic. There are spiders that capture bats in South America. That you can have a cancer but you don't know about it. The youngest person to ever give birth was 5 years old. Lena Medina. Just think of what happened to the poor girl. Early childhood malnutrition, between ages 0 to 5, causes irreversible loss of IQ, 11 to 20 points, and predisposes people to higher levels of violence. Prefrontal cortex doesn't develop the same, and if you miss that window, there's no intervention that can recover the gap. I live in South Africa. Highest Gini coefficient in the world. Highest unemployment. Third highest violent crime rate. One of the worst education systems in the world. And it fracking keeps me up at night. I wonder, if we changed nothing except introducing a one nutritious meal per day feeding scheme for ECD, what would happen? It hurts. The disk of our home galaxy, the Milky Way, is bigger than we previously thought. A new study shows it would take 200,000 years for a spaceship traveling at the speed of light to go across the entire galaxy, at light speed. That slavery is still one of the biggest profiting trades in the world. A dying person's eyes will sometimes go from closed to shooting wide open as they pass. Source: personal observation. Unfortunately. Edit: to clarify, this happened to my father-in-law and I was present. My heart goes out to everyone else who has lost loved ones. Even though the eyes opening was certainly disturbing, being able to have him die at home as he wished and us being there with him at the end was a positive experience that I've made peace with. Thanks for the awards, and it's nice discussing with everyone. Babies don't have kneecaps. For every 1 human cell in your body, scientists estimate there are 1 to 10 non-human cells, aka lots of little microorganisms living inside you. Fatal insomnia is a thing. A cardiac tamponade is when your heart literally chokes itself to death. If a blood vessel inside the pericardium leaks, a tough membrane protecting the heart's pumping will force blood into the space between itself and the pericardium. As the space fills, the heart can't pump anymore due to a lack of space. It literally drowns in your own blood. Anesthesia awareness is a thing. Given the effects of anesthetics preventing the formation of new memories, it's possible it always happens and we just don't remember it afterwards. Wikipedia. Org. Wiki. Anesthesia awareness. A gamma ray burst, or even a cosmic ray storm, could cause a near-instant mass extinction event. These both, probably, have affected life on Earth before. Both are common events in space, basically random, and our only protection is the vastness of space. That there is anywhere between 25 to 50 active serial killers in the United States, according to the FBI. Edit. Added words. A brain aneurysm can kill you at any time. The value of a human body. There is value to the human body as a commodity, and different parts of our body are worth different amounts while corneas are small. They fetch a large price. $15,000, or about $22,450, whereas our skeleton garners significantly less. $5,000, about $7,483. The price also depends on whether the body part is sold for specimen use, transplants, or on the black market. The mineral value of our body is like $3 bucks. If we see a life-threatening meteor is going to strike us in a few years, we probably, at least at the moment, couldn't do anything about it. They've had training simulations with this exact scenario, and they only got it right like 10% of the time. They need more like 10 years to reliably and consistently stop it. That it literally just takes one person to decide to kill you. In any situation, the fact that someone can choose you randomly to kill, they might be caught and arrested, but they would have already killed you. No one can really prepare for it. That the majority of humans will wait until life-threatening problems become unsolvable before they try to fix them. Dolphins' brutality kill baby porpoise for no reason. How many things TSA lets slip through during security tests? That at some point, you will hang out with a group of close friends for the last time, and not even know it. You'll assume there will be a next time, but that's it. There are about 6 U.S. nuclear weapons that are currently unaccounted for. Broken arrow, and several times that number missing from Russia. Edit. I'm being told it's technically empty quiver, but broken arrows sounds at least 30% cooler, so I'm running with it. There are enough kangaroos in Australia to take over Thailand. There are about 8 kangaroos per person there. One of Mayhem's band members committed suicide. When he was found by his bandmate, pictures were taken and it became the new album cover. The photographer was subsequently murdered by Varg Vikernes, who masterminded church burnings. During World War II, Japan bombed China with fleas infected with the bubonic plague. Cruise liners all have a morgue for all the passengers that inevitably die each trip. Late to the game. But learning this has really affected me, and as a mom of 4, it's hard to wrap my mind around it. A nurse who works at a local children's hospital shared that parents of children who are terminally ill will leave their children at the hospital and never come back, including after they die. Apparently it happens more often than we'd like to allow ourselves to believe. They just leave their children scared and alone while they die, except for the amazing doctor and nursing staff to be with them and comfort them. I can't even fathom it. It makes my anxiety spike every time I think of it. It's just so heartbreaking. The number of people older than you decreases each day, and the number of people younger than you increases each day. IDK about most disturbing but most. Pre-ground coffee contains a certain amount of cockroaches and other bugs. When they get the coffee beans in Madagascar, there's so many roaches living in it that it's too much time and effort to sort them all out. So, a lot of pre-ground coffee is allowed to have a certain amount of cockroach in it. Now you know why some coffee has so much protein. That one day everything we know and can imagine will be forgotten. At some point your mom set you down and never picked you up again. Inside every old person is a young person wondering where the years went. Propaganda works. There's millions of little creatures munching on dead skin every second. How many disturbing and sick people we interact with on a daily basis, whom we don't know are psychopaths or child abusers. I think Arthur C. Clarke said it best. 2 possibilities exist. Either we are alone in the universe or we are not. Both are equally terrifying. Stress destroys your body on a molecular level. The reason people usually don't scream in beheading videos is that there have been practice runs before. The first couple times they go through the while process the stop right before cutting. By the time it actually happens they don't know if it's real or not. The law does not prevent you from doing anything, but it does give consequences if you do. If you want to kill someone and it's okay with the penalty, you can. The Rainbow Valley on Mt. Everest is only called that because of the amount of colored jackets from the people that died making the climb are frozen in place. Bound to the mountain forever. Edit. WTF, why do so many people like that? Fact, it's a little scary. NGL. A raccoon can fit up your ass if it wanted to. Your bones are wet. Scrolled a lot and no one mentioned that a tumor can have teeth and eyes. That is something I will never get over. I'm not sure, but it should be called mesothelioma. Edit. Look below for the corrected name. Edit. It's teratoma. Thanks to everyone remembering me. You never stop seeing. When your eyes are closed, you're just looking at your eyelids. That based on luck of birth, your life can range from a living hell to a life of unimaginable luxury. That this post is going to be a BuzzFeed article in about half a week and there's nothing you can do about it. My 5-year-old son passed away from rare brain cancer 2 years ago. He was in our bed and we were with him the entire time. I still think about how fast a body gets cold when the heart stops. It's really quick. A Missouri court famously handled the case of Celia, a slave who killed her owner in 1855 while fighting a sexual assault. In such situations, state law considered any woman to be acting in self-defense. However, the court determined that Celia was not a woman in the sense of the law. She was a slave, and her owner had complete control over her. She was given the death penalty by the court, since she was pregnant. However, her execution was postponed until the child was born, so as not to deprive her owner's successors of their property rights. For another disturbing piece of history, look up the 1918 lynching of Mary Turner in Georgia. A lot of the cocoa in the chocolate we enjoy is harvested by child slave labor. The most disturbing thing I know is that some bodies will flop around when beheaded and some bodies will go instantly still. Very rough learning that at a young age with unrestricted access to the internet. Sometime after you die, nobody will remember you. Kinks can be inherited from your parents. I'm so happy I started reading this thread at 10:30 p.m. on a Sunday night. That you're going to spend an infinite amount of time dead. The black hole S50014 plus 81 will exist for another 10 duotrigintillion years. That's a 1 in 99 zeros. But that's still an inconceivably small nothing in comparison to the infinity after all the black holes evaporate away and the universe is just a cold black void for infinity. Dark forest theory, basically. We haven't been contacted by aliens yet because there are predatory alien civilizations out there hunting down species across the universe, and to avoid being hunted no one leaves their planet and stays quiet. This would not be a good thing for humans since we've already been sending out radio signals. Your perception of reality is not the same as everyone else's. This means that all the things that give you support, orientation and stability in life, in short, everything that keeps you from going completely crazy, may be known to other people, but to them it means something different, feels different and has a different value. You are alone in your perfect world. At any moment a ray of gamma radiation from a black hole could completely wipe out the Earth and we wouldn't even know it. We'd just be dead. Years ago I remember watching an episode of the show Monsters Inside where this 16-year-old kid was doing something outside and a fly flew into his eye. It only made contact for about a microsecond, but it was enough time for it to lay eggs. After they hatched they started eating his eye from the inside and he was starting to go blind until a doctor finally figured out what was wrong. Just imagine that, getting your eye eaten from the inside and losing your sight, all because a fly very briefly made contact with you. Ever since I learned about this I get really paranoid when there is a fly around my face because of the fact that this could possibly happen to me.